All right, good afternoon. Welcome back here to Trader Minute. Great to have you aboard. Market about 90 minutes left here today. It's seen a gap up, a little sell off, a little rebound, and a little bit more sell off here. Where it sits right now. Let's go out and do this. We have a new trigger here for the challenge today, and that is a bullish signal on UPS. And this is an interesting one because the stock is not trading higher. The stock is lower, and it is creating a signal. And it's not the first time we've seen this. It is one of the products or byproducts of using the 3-7. Sometimes you drop off a day, and you get the moving averages to switch just a little bit here, and that's what we're seeing with UPS, but is triggering bullish here off the higher low, but not something I'm going to go out and trade for the challenge. We only have about 1,000 in cash here, a little more than 1,000 in cash. I could pull off a little Disney or a little Apple to do it, but the UPS options aren't good enough for me to want to do that here. Now, speaking of Apple and Disney, let's go price these. Apple at 19.90, and then Disney at 9. So here we go. And 1990. So a little bit of change from this morning, down a little bit, about $320 from where it was this morning. And yeah, we see stocks like Apple out there, they gapped up, selling off here. Is that a concern? Yeah, always. Not something I want to see. But if we take a look at the last two times that Apple gapped up and sold, and again, it's not saying that this is going to happen, but if you're alarmed by it, just take a look at a week and a half ago. Apple gapped up and ran up and then sold off into the close to end red, only to rally big the next day. So we saw that. That was on the last kind of gap up and sell. And then we saw the gap up and sell right back here at the beginning of March, where the stock gapped up and sold off the entire day, only to gap up and go back to the highs the next day. I don't show that to say, hey, that's what's going to happen. I show it to say that this is not a candle pattern that we see here that has any real reliability. It is something that is very, ambiguous as to what it means going forward. And typically, a day like today doesn't mean anything there. So, would I like to see it up near its highs? Of course, I would. But nothing too alarming there that I would pull it off, outside the challenge parameters here. And if we look, the profit levels on these are pretty steep. It's 284, so we're $22 away. Could it hit it tomorrow? It could. But definitely steep targets here for both Disney and Apple. Disney, $10 away. Can they hit these targets? Yeah, they most certainly can. These are not targets that that I discredit or disregard. We see this type of movement. I mean, here's Disney. It was at $80 and bounced to 105. So to see it here at 95 and bounce to 110, 115 is not even outside of retracements there. And, it's one of the reasons why we use the average true range is to adapt to markets and how they are moving. Obviously, this one has been pretty historic, here with it. So, holding into Disney and Apple into the close, and we'll look to, maybe enter UPS if something happens tomorrow. We'll see, but I'll keep the 1,000 in cash and the full contracts that I have, or the full positions that I have on these two stocks. Okay, there are a bunch of crossovers going on out there. On the bearish side, there's nothing. It is empty. But on the bullish side, a lot of the stocks, yesterday's laggards, we do see, with crossovers. The only one that's signaling is UPS. I thought Twitter was going to signal. but it's not. But a lot of these, they've been laggards. I'd love to play Bank of America. In fact, I'd consider playing Bank of America with the 1,000 in cash that we have, but it is not a signal here as it sits. So I guess it's going to need another higher low. I thought for sure we'd get some sort of signal on it, but it nor J.P. Morgan, which looks very similar, are giving buy signals right here. Okay. All right, so that's the challenge, and yeah. As far as today and what's going on out there, there's not a lot that I find to be very interesting. It's not something that I look at and go, well, you know what? Here's Boeing. It sold off. There's big meaning here. There's some volumes, right? There's some good volumes out there, but not a lot that I look and go, wow, this is something where we can say, well, because of X, Y, and Z, we're likely to see ABC. Yesterday we saw a change in the metrics. We saw a change in signaling. We're not seeing anything like that today. In fact, perhaps the most interesting thing as far as the metrics go is the fact that the bullish percent index is up 30% here today. Just a massive move here in it. And if I clean this up and get rid of the log scale, we can see it better. But you see the bullish percent index gone from 45 to almost 80. And you think about this rebound in the bullish percent index. Obviously, the stock market has not had this type of rebound here where V-shaped rebound. But this V-shaped rebound in the bullish percent index is just something we don't see very often. And, what's that tell us? It tells us that almost 80% of the stocks in the S&P 500, according to their point and figure charts, have bullish signals on them, which is a massive number. It's just a massive number. It's partly why the bullish percent index, moved yet, or why the market vibe moved yesterday. But when we look at, even number of stocks trading above key moving averages, obviously that's switched, and we saw, we have 487 stocks of the 500 in the S&P 500 trading above the 7-day moving average. Just a massive number. It's not a number we see in the best of bull markets. And then if you look at number of stocks above the 20-day moving average, you remember the last bounce we talked about, stocks were capturing their 7s, but not their 20s. Well, we now have 456 of the S&P 500, over 90% trading above their 7-day moving average and their 20-day moving average. So, that's a very bullish switch. It's not the type of switch that we have seen on other rallies in the market, here since the, coronavirus sell-off. So a very different type of move with the internals, one that's very bullish. And could it switch? Yes, it could switch tomorrow, and we could be talking about the number of stocks crossing down. But you play with what the metrics are giving you, and when they switch, you react to it. And that's kind of how I'll go about here with that. Okay. Another interesting thing here today is oil, and oil has tanked. It's down 9% right now, and if we just come and look at the oil chart, just the chart for oil futures, you can see overnight oil was up here around 27 a barrel. It dropped all the way down here to 23 and a half. It's getting a little bounce in it right now, but just an absolute monster drop here on oil here today. And if you look at the energy sector, it's coming off of its highs, but it's still one of the best performing sectors in the market here today. EOG Resources, strong performance. You can't tell that oil's fallen off a cliff here with it. So something very different in the energy space. I looked at the charts here today and thought, is there something I can go after? What about a Halliburton or an Apache or something like that? But nothing I could find that I was really comfortable with, really going after. We saw the bull signal on Valero yesterday, but just couldn't get into the options with how they were there on it. But, some interesting action we haven't seen. We have not seen oil sell off to this type of degree with energy holding up and holding up very well. And so you look and you say, well, bad news, positive reaction. Okay. Could be something a little more substantial brewing within, the energy sector over the next several months here. Thanks for hopping on. I hope you and your family are staying safe, staying healthy, most importantly, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care.